Welcome back to NaturalOne, the D&D channel equivalent of diet soda. Technically tastes like soda, but everyone's just waiting for that weird aftertaste. Today, we're back to do what we do best, shoving your favorite pop culture characters into the rule set that is D&D 5e. And in this episode, we're building Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz, self-proclaimed tyrant of the tri-state area, inventor of every inator you never asked for, and the only villain whose life mission started with backyard lawn gnomes. So don your most questionable lab coat, fire up that evil monologue, and let's see how far misplaced ambition, botched gadgets, and utter obliviousness can carry you in 5e.
Just think of all the evil uses there are for zinc! I mean, seriously, can you think of some? Because I got nothing.
Even evil scientists have to work within the limits of the standard array. Though if anyone would try to build an array rearrangeinator, it's this guy. We're going to start out with a 15 intelligence. He was the inventor of the lawn gnominator, other dimensionator, and the make up your mindinator. If there's a ridiculous problem, Heinz is a much more ridiculous solution. But it's a solution to be sure. We'll follow that up with a meaty 14 in constitution. He's been hit by his own inators, electrocuted, and launched into space more times than a NASA intern. Still kicking, still monologuing though. Pleasantly surprising 13 in charisma. He once convinced the tri-state area that he should be the tri-state mayor. Add in his tragic backstories, catchy villain songs, and occasional emotional depth with Vanessa, and he's weirdly compelling. A surprising 12 in strength. You try dragging an inator across the city. He's no bodybuilder, but Doof's got that wiry, built an entire evil lab by himself strength. Can that strength contend with a platypus? A decent 10 in wisdom. Look, he built the make up your mindinator and couldn't decide how to use it. Brilliant? Yes. Wise? He's learning. Slowly. Usually through trauma. Finally an 8 in dexterity. He couldn't sneak past a platypus if his life depended on it, and oftentimes it does. I think that's enough said here.
See, when I was a small boy, my parents would never let me watch music videos.
No, we don't have time for an emotionally scarring backstory.
Dr. Doofenshmirtz is a variant human. I know, shocker, but were you really expecting us to make him a half-orc? No, I thought not. With variant human, he takes the chef feat, shouted to his quality bratwurst stand and the evil meatloaf surprise, which bumps his constitution by a +1, perfect for surviving stray inator fumes. And we're going to apply the other +1s to intelligence, bring it up to a 16 for all those harebrained blueprints, and for charisma, now a 14, for when he breaks into a pre-inator monologue. Speaking of monologues, we round things out with performance, because only Heinz can deliver an over-the-top villain musical number about how his ill-fated backstory led him to his newest invention. Speaking of backstory, for background, you tell me what you think. Abandoned at his own birthday party, forced into lawn gnome servitude, and briefly raised by ocelots back in Drusselstein? That's right. His childhood seems pretty haunting to me. Almost like he's a haunted one or something. With that, he gains Arcana proficiency, magic is just science with a dramatic flair, and investigation, essential for searching through the reminders that you put on your Shrinkinator. For languages, he speaks Drusselsteinian natively, and has picked up enough platypus to bicker back at his nemesis. Because good villains always learn the dialect of the hero they can't quite beat.
Ooh, an anti-gravity fun launcher. How about the anti-gravity evil launchinator? There, I changed the name. That makes it mine.
At level 1, Doofenshmirtz finally unlocks true mad science magic with magical tinkering, turning odds and ends from his workbench into mini alarminators, self-stirring beakers, or whatever he can slap an inator label on. His cantrips, dancing lights for grand, behold my latest monstrosity reveals, and resistance to shrug off stray electricinator shocks. They're laboratory essentials, trust me. For first level spells, he grabs Alarm, so he knows when parry's breaking in, Snare, perfect for trapping the said platypus, and Grease, because nothing says villainy like a slick floor. He rounds things out with history proficiency, so he can recap every moment from his backstory in tragic detail, Nature, to explain why his swamp-hidden lair makes perfect ecological sense, and Cobbler's Tools, because, well, you get it. At level 2, Doofenshmirtz's lab goes from Slapdash to Showstopper. His infusions include Clothes of Mending, which auto-repairs his scorch-blasted lab coat mid-monologue, and the Wand of Conducting, perfect for every over-the-top show tune and evil anthem. He also picks up Cure Wounds, because oops, I glued my hand to the self-stapleinator is funny exactly once. After that, you might want some real healing. At level 3, he steps into the Battlesmith subclass and never looks back. The right tool for the job lets him magically whip up missing innator components in an hour flat. No frantic scrap hunts required. While battle ready turns his trusty wrench into an intelligence-fueled weapon, perfect for smashing malfunctioning mecha doofbots. His steel defender, dubbed Norm, lumbers in as his reluctant mechanical sidekick, and spells like Heroism and Shield serve as his pep talk and emergency not today parry button. At level 4, Doofenshmirtz finally invested in his own brilliance, a +2 in intelligence, now up to 18, so he can outthink Phineas' 5-minute roller coaster. He picks up Identified to instantly diagnose any misbehaving innator, goodbye impromptu component scavenging, and False Life as a just-in-case buffer after the electric innator tries to turn him into a human lightning rod. Level 5, he dives headfirst into pure arcane academia as a first level wizard. Arcane recovery means after a quick lunch break, he's back to full spell slot strength, vital when your next invention is a high stakes trial. His cantrips? Ray of Frost, aka the Freezinator prototype, Message, perfect for texting Vanessa incessantly at odd hours, and Control Flames, because nothing says culinary perfection like a skoo. Or is it ska? Whatever, he rounds out things with Mage Armor for that signature lab coat look, Expeditious Retreat for comedic dashes from parry, Featherfall to survive those cliffside escapes, Find Familiar, cause you gotta power Norm somehow, Magnify Gravity for his Gravity Nader test runs, and a Magic Missile variant, Jim's Magic Missile, because even Doof has to rent his firepower sometimes. At level 6, his Transmutation Obsession kicks in with Transmutation Savant, half-price reagents for every wild innator upgrade, and Minor Alchemy, which lets him turn scrap metal into emergency meatloaf pans. For spells, he grabs Sleep, the ultimate parry trap, and Ray of Sickness, because an icky side effect is just good science. At level 7, Doof's got Wizard level 3 under his lab coat, which means second level spells. Hold Person handles the traps department, basically every cage, glue blob, or force field he's thrown at parry over the years. Rhymes Binding Ice is a nod to the giant robotic penguin, which definitely throws more than just the tri-state area's utility bills. It's cold, it's clunky, it's perfect. Level 8 brings Wizard level 4, and another cantrip. Mold Earth so we can literally make a mountain out of a molehill. And 2 more spells. Mirror Image is classic Doof. He's duplicated himself before, sometimes with robots, sometimes with mirrors, sometimes just by showing up twice for the same evil scheme. And Pyrotechnics? That's pure show tunes. He doesn't monologue, he performs. As for the ability score improvement, that goes into Constitution, boosting it to a 17 with a +2, because explosions happen. Pretty often, actually. At level 9, Doof gets to conjure his own Evil Incorporated with Galder's Tower. Does it take forever to make? Sure, but I mean, if he's gonna rule the tri-state area, he might as well have a home base. He also picks up Slow, the definitive Slowinator stand-in. Is it subtle? No. But when you name your inventions after their primary effects, you don't really need subtle. At level 10, Doof hits Wizard level 6 and gains access to the Transmuter Stone, basically his pocket-sized innator battery. He can toggle between benefits like Dark Vision for sneaking around his own dimly lit lair, Elemental Resistances for when Norm misfires again, or Constitution saves for surviving yet another chilly innator explosion. Every time he casts a transmutation spell, he can reconfigure the stone's bonus, like a mad science fidget cube. His new spells include Fireball, a textbook example of his self-destruct innator, going off mid-demo, and Glyph of Warding, because if Perry's gonna break in again, he's getting a surprise this time.
And now, invisible boxes for everyone! Sure, why not?
Speaking of parry surprises, level 11 gets us to Wizard level 7 and brings Hypnotic Pattern, a dazzling, brain-numbing musical light show straight from one of his more aggressively choreographed villain songs. And it also doubles as a temporary parry disableinator. Autoluke's Resilient Sphere serves the same purpose. Trap the Platypus, Monologue Interrupted, Profit. In theory. It's the magical equivalent of putting a nemesis in timeout while you dramatically flip switches. At level 12, Doof finally maxes out his intelligence at 20, because say what you will, but his blueprint game is airtight. He picks up Fabricate, letting him slap together a new innator in minutes using nothing but lawn chairs and despair, and Tiny Servant, which we're using to finally stat up Balloony, his sentient balloon childhood friend, now alive again, and ready to assist with evil chores. And thanks to his Artificer roots, He also nabs Catapult for when he needs to launch a meatloaf, a wrench, or even himself out of a second story window with style. At level 13, Doof's parry trapping arsenal hits a new high, or low depending on how you feel about free will. Hold Monster is the obvious escalation of Hold Person, because when a platypus starts breaking free of your basic traps mid-monologue, you need heavier restraints. Monologues are mandatory after all. Modify Memory, meanwhile, is straight from the delete bad memory inator files. Finally, a way to scrub away every failed plan, embarrassing monologue, and all those times he called Vanessa pumpkin in front of her friends. Level 14 brings Wizard level 10, and with it, his subclass feature Shape Changer. Doof can now polymorph himself into a beast once per rest for free. That means he can finally become the platypus he is needed to be in order to fight Perry. Gotta be a platypus to beat a platypus after all. For new spells, he picks up Skill Empowerment, the magical equivalent of giving himself a montage boost when he suddenly decides to master interpretive dance. And Bigby's Hand, which Doof absolutely uses as a floating high five machine, elevator, or oversized musical prop. Probably all three at once, actually. Oh, and obviously we got True Strike because, well, do I even need to explain it anymore? At level 15, the inators get theatrical. Otto's Irresistible Dance is the final evolution of his hypnotic musical scheme, now with forced choreography. And Move Earth is the long-delayed answer to every tragic flashback about his childhood lawn gnome servitude. Why mow the lawn when you could just remove it? Plus, it's perfect for constructing last-minute villain bases, or even just further mountaining any molehills he may come across. Level 16 of this build, and we're going to take the Tavern Brawler feat because Doof once impulse bought every single item from a late-night infomercial, including a self-defense cactus, so clearly he's qualified. We also bump Constitution to 18 because he's now slightly less likely to pass out from his own pyrotechnics. For spells, Mental Prison is a top-tier parry trap. It's like locking someone in a dimension of their own personal trauma. For Doof, that probably involves endless replays of his childhood in Drusselstein. Program Delusion gives us the fake window. Fake Doof, fake escape tunnel setup he's canonically used more than once. The 13th level wizard brings more spells, specifically in the forms of Force Cage, a no save, no escape bubble for any hat-wearing platypi you may run into, and Teleport, which is a much more cost-effective way of sending your daughter to the movies. Or more likely removing the inventions of two younger brothers right before their mother gets home. And at level 18 we hit Master Transmuter, which in simple terms means that Doof can now burn his Transmuter Stone for one of 4 busted effects, including turning junk into other junk, full heals, emergency resurrection, or rolling back the clock, which he'll almost certainly misuse trying to get his teenage emo phase back. For spells, we're grabbing Simulacrum, to create a disposable Doof copy that can take the fall for literally everything, and Reverse Gravity for yet another Gravity Nator that works exactly once before backfiring spectacularly. At level 19, Doofenshmirtz finally gets the weather machine he's always dreamed of, in the form of Control Weather, a perfect match for his Gloominator 3000 Inator, and other regionally inconvenient atmospheric devices. Rain on your nemesis' parade? Literally. Snow in July? Well, obviously. He also picks up Symbol, which lets him embed magical effects into ominously glowing buttons, dramatic villain logos, or literally anything labeled Do Not Push. Want to knock out intruders, instill fear, or just traumatize them with flashbacks of your Drusselsteinian childhood? That's called efficient evil planning there. Wrapping the build up at level 20, and Doof finally moves from TV shows to movies with Plane Shift, the spell equivalent of pushing someone into another dimension. Get it? Like the movie. The one with the meme? And for our final ASI, we bump Constitution by 2, because even Doof deserves to live long enough to monologue through at least one successful planet. And finally, Seeming, which lets him outfit himself, Norm, and any balloon friends in matching disguises for overly complicated infiltration attempts, Broadway numbers, or maybe even both. It's the perfect capstone for a build that was never about success, it was about making failure spectacular.
I hope Barry the Platypus appreciates all this hard work.
He won't.
I know.
When the tri-state area needs a one-man whirlwind of magical mayhem and mechanical mishaps, Doofenshmirtz is your guy. Let's see why. He's a dominant spellcaster. A 19 spell save DC and plus 11 to hit means his arcane arsenal of Fireball, Hold Person or Hold Monster, and even Control Weather lands exactly where he wants, turning his inators into reliably chaotic fireworks. He's also a master trapper. His lair is a gauntlet of arcane tripwires. Alarm alerts him to every footstep, glyph of warding and symbol punish unwanted visitors, contingency springs his signature traps on cue, and force cage or rhymes binding ice lock intruders in place. Perry the Platypus never knows what hit him. He also has Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. Unlike most D&D villains, Doof actually owns a fortress, his tower to hold them all, staffed by Tiny Servant Balloony, the Reluctant Steel Defender Norm, and Simulacrum backups. It's a fully automated evil franchise. Minions, gadgets, and a literal tower keeping heroes and the Tri-State's denizens on their toes. He's also got the toolkit of a Tri-State tyrant. From hypnotic pattern crowd control to modify memory wipeouts, plus teleport and plane shift for dramatic escapes or invasions, he has every tool to twist wills and rewrite reality. If only he remembered to flip the on switch. Yet, time and time again, we see Doofenshmirtz fail. Let's see why that is. He's easy to hit. With a base AC of 9, which barely goes up to 12 with mage armor, and 0 options to bump it higher, Doofenshmirtz is basically a walking target. It's no wonder a literal platypus can land a solid smack on him, and he probably does on a regular basis. He's also got middling damage. After 16 levels of wizard, you'd expect world-shaking spells, but Doof's big hitter is still fireball, and much of his damage comes from his own inators misfiring. It's less villainous devastation and more self-inflicted fireworks show, complete with smoke, sparks, and a slightly singed ego. Also, we're gonna peel back the curtain a little bit. We kind of forgot about him. Look, we're not proud of it, okay? But we completely forgot this build was supposed to get done until the day it was due. And while that might seem like poor planning, it's honestly the most Doofenshmirtz outcome possible. This is a man whose parents didn't even show up to his birth, who had to act as both guest and host at his own birthday party, and who spent his formative years as a lawn gnome. Forgetting about him until the last minute isn't just on brand, it's basically canon. What really stings is that we got plenty of other builds done in the meantime. We actually started the Roger Doofenshmirtz build before remembering Heinz was the only one who needed to be uploaded. So, of course, his big moment on our channel got left in a Google Doc draft until the very last second. But hey, we remembered. Eventually, which is more than his parents ever managed. And that's our take on Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz, a man so tragically overlooked, we almost forgot to finish his build. But honestly, if any character was going to get sidelined by their own creators, it was always going to be Doof. If you've got ideas for future builds, or just want to be part of whatever this is, leave us a comment down below. Don't forget to hit that big red subscribe-inator to ensure your allegiance to NaturalOne's eventual takeover of the tri-state area, and don't forget to ring that bell. It might look like a self-destruct button, but we swear it only notifies you when we upload. Probably. I actually don't know. And if you want this build and every other build we've done, yes, even Roger's, you can grab them all for free over on our Patreon. So until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.
There's no platypus controlling me. There's no platypus controlling me.